All right, and we are live, and welcome back to a brand new episode of For Whom the Bell Tolls. According to my records, this is episode number 20 of doing the live, which is incredible because I didn't think I would ever be doing lives at all. As usual, I have to thank everybody who's going to be joining us live today. You guys are the life of the party in chat. If you've got burning questions for myself or for our amazing guest today, feel free to throw them into the chat. And if they work organically into our conversation, I'll absolutely put them in there. Now, for those of you who are watching later, and I know this is kind of an odd time of day that we do this episode, but I promised all you European viewers I would put together a daytime stream in the US. That's what we're doing here today. So for everybody who's watching on Team Replay, you know what I'm going to ask you to do. Hashtag Team Replay down in the comments. Let me know where you are. Let me know where you're watching from. And like I'm doing today, I am going to schedule around you guys, the BellTube community and viewers, much more so than myself. Okay, that stuff out of the way. You guys, we got a fantastic guest today. And if you are unaware of her, let me give you a brief introduction. I became aware of Wera probably, I don't know, I want to say about 3 months ago. And I see this channel with this younger person talking about these books that I read, which is a little unusual. And I just happened, I like my analytics, and I'm watching this channel grow. And it's not growing by the dozens, and it's not growing by the hundreds, it's growing by the thousands. And it's not like she's putting out a video every single afternoon. It's just that good. And she's got such unique takes on books that many of us have read, but her brain is very powerful. The force is strong in this one. There is no doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege, and I'm very excited to welcome into the Bell Tower the one and only Wera from the channel Wera. Wera, please tell everybody how you're doing today.
Well, I'm doing so good now. Thank you, Brian. After that amazing introduction, you've got me blushing and everything. Yeah, it's so good to be here. Wera from the channel Wera. When I did a collab with the Next Chapter guys, Jaden and Marty, I said that my channel's name is Wera because I couldn't think of a fun name or creative name like BellTube or Next Chapter or all the other creative names. So it's Wera. And yeah, lovely to be here.
It's great. While we're talking about that, is Wera a common Polish name?
So it's actually a nickname.
It's a nickname.
It's a nickname. Yeah. So my full first name is Weronika, but okay. So the American pronunciation or equivalent is obviously Veronica, but I hate that.
Okay.
Like, no offense if your name is Veronica. I love you, right?
Yes.
But for me, I don't like it. And because I went to an international school for my entire life.
Yeah.
I was always called Veronica, and I really don't like that pronunciation. It's so harsh, I think.
It is.
And yeah, and so that's why my nickname, so the two nicknames for my name are Wera or Nika, and I'm obviously Wera. And it's actually funny because one of my dad's best friend's daughter has the same name as me, but because she was born after, she gets called Nika.
Gotcha. So, all right. Yeah. Well, hey, if you ever decide to do alternate personas on your channel, Nika is, ready to go. You don't even have to think up a name. See, we're already getting stuff, folks. We haven't even started this stream. 2 minutes. You guys are already getting brand new information that you probably haven't. Yeah, we're getting Wera lore. All right, I'm going to go through some of the comments, and then we're going to get to, folks, I come prepared, and it has been a 24-hour Wera-a-thon over here at BellTube headquarters. I got a lot of questions. Hopefully she's got plenty of answers. I know she's gonna. First, before we do that, I'm going to get to you guys some of the chat. We have Cal saying salutations, mortals. I'm not going to go with the mortals. I could be a Highlander. You don't know that. There could be only one. Okay. We have, one of my favorites of all time, Esme. Good evening from the Netherlands. See, Esme, I promised you we would do some that you weren't already in bed from. It is amazing to have you here. Julian, same difference. Good evening. Finally caught the bell live. That's why we're doing this. Another overseas person, Slay, the original member of the BookTube patron Velvet Lounge, is here saying hello to everyone. Thatcher is here saying it's happening. Another fantastic patron. Kellen, hello everyone. Watching during my lunch break. I hope it's a really good one. Trace Jefferson is here. Hello everyone. Good evening from the UK. It's fantastic. I love this international vibe that we've got here. Look at it. We got another one. Juliana, hello from Portugal. I love this. I
Hola.
love this. And Cal's right. By the time Vera posted, thank you for 5,000 subscribers. She already had 7,000. Very true. Esme, it's just that good. Heck yes. We all love Vera. This is the show, Vera, you come on. If you're ever having a crisis of self-esteem or self-doubt, you just message me and say, hey, I need to come on For Whom the Bell Calls, and you'll feel better in like 5 minutes.
Even my own subscribers aren't this nice. I gotta do this.
Yeah, it's like the best.
I love my subscribers.
It's the best reassuring, therapy you could ever get. Look who's here, the best red guy on my channel for sure, Max Garfield. Greetings and salutations, good folks. Well, hello all the way back to you to Scandinavia. Matt Keen is here saying hi. Meow Cat is saying hello. John is driving and listening. Melissa says hello from Dallas. All right, same time zone. Okay. Esme says, and I promise you guys, we are going to get to some questions for Vera, but you guys are just rocking the chat and I don't want to ignore you. Esme, you are the best. Thank you for thinking of us EU time zone plebes. Ha ha ha. Okay. Fair enough. Maya says hi. Another, God, the Euro stream is just crushing it. Hi from Italy. Thank you. Kalinico Bo. Sure. I'm going to go for it. Another one. Vera is lying. She wouldn't take my suggestion for the final. I feel like there's a story here, Vera.
Yeah, Maya, don't even. So Maya is my best friend from like real life.
Yeah.
And she, I'm so scared that she's gonna divulge some like deep Vera lore, but
cool.
Yeah. Anyway, Maya.
She picked the right place for it.
Yeah. So Maya wanted me to rebrand to Verasphere. And and she actually did all my channel art.
Oh, cool.
So Maya, please applaud Maya in the chat, everyone.
Kudos to Maya.
And so even when she was doing my channel art, she did an alternative with Verasphere. But this was already like 2 months ago, Maya. This wasn't from the start. So I decided to stick with Vera because I think the joke of me not being creative, which still holds true because I didn't come up with Verasphere. I think it's funny, and I think it matches my branding of being very homemade and very.
I love it.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's like Cher or Madonna. I mean, a one-word name is fantastic, right? I'm a branding guy, right? So I'm telling you that I think, Maya, I hate to disagree with you because you're new to my chat, but I'm going to agree with Vera on this one because it is that one name thing. Look at Steele is saying Skull, absolutely. Sebastian, my first BookTube live. Yay, I'm representing Denmark, native in Norway living. This is fantastic. I just love you guys for tuning in. And Capricious Fox has got a message for somebody else in the chat. All right, we've gotten through some chat. You guys keep chatting. And like I said, if you've got some questions or statements, I will work them in as it makes sense. Vera, one of the things that I just love so much about your channel, and we're going to talk about books that you read today. We're going to talk about some of your hobbies. We're going to talk about your very long and extensive life so far at, early 20s something. But one of the things that I wanted to make sure that I just congratulated you right off the bat here is we were talking backstage about channel growth. And one of my personal pet peeves you do not do, and it's great. You are unabashedly happy and own the truth that you'd like to have your channel grow. And that it excites you that people watch your channel and that people find your content compelling and you're not afraid to do the things to get there, and you're not afraid to be quite upfront about, I love this. I love when, my channel is booming like this. And this isn't so much of a question as it is just kind of a statement, because there's just so much out in BookTube that people say, oh, I really don't care that much about subscribers. And it's just sort of this, I don't know. It just seems like they're saying what they think people want to hear rather than their own personal truth. And much like you, I am very much about growing my channel. I don't make any, I don't make any kind of like scenarios where I say that that's not the case. And I just wanted to say that I appreciate you being straightforward, because I think it lends so much credibility to the actual content that you're creating within that. So when people know that one of your goals is to grow the channel, you're being honest with them, which means that you're probably being honest about the books that you read and your thoughts. Does that make some sense to you? Do you agree with that? Does that resonate
Yeah,
with you?
yeah, it does. So when I started out, right, I knew that I wanted to grow fast,
Hmm.
at least relatively, to have conversations, right? Because we all, in the words of John Minton from Talking Story, we start this to have conversations. If I had, I don't know, 50 subscribers, that'd be so great. They would all be my family, my extended family, and my friends. They
Hmm.
don't care about books, or else I would be talking to them, not broadcasting myself online,
Right.
and so I wouldn't be having conversations. A, B. So the best way for me to start having those conversations is to grow fast. Okay. Now, am I aiming for the 100,000s and stuff like that? Maybe one day, but not yet. That's not my goal for now. But I just wanted to see, how can I get to 1,000 as fast as I can? How can I
Hmm.
get to like 2,000 maybe? That being said, my goal for the end of my first year was to have 1,000 subscribers, which
Hey,
now
you know
I
what?
don't
The
have a
the
goal.
average the average for people that really go at YouTube, like really go at it, they generally don't see about 1,000 subscribers for about a year and a half, if they upload fairly regularly. And obviously, you've blown past that, so that's uh that's fantastic. Look, I got to just say hi to an IRL friend here, Tim A. Nice lunchtime live stream. This is a guy, I got to just share this quick story. People always ask, because you just said, if I had those people in my IRL, I wouldn't need to start a channel. This is the one guy, and he is a phenomenal DJ, and he worked at the club with me for many, many years. And we got to talk about fantasy books pre-nightclub stream, or pre-nightclub stream, pre-nightclub party, and then post-nightclub party. So there's that. But getting back to what you were talking about, I think you've certainly exceeded what your initial intent was,
Yeah.
right? I mean, 1,000 subscribers in a year. Do you recall how long it actually took you to do 1,000?
A month and a half. So it was my, or yeah, month and a half, just under 2 months anyway. Because I knew. So okay, my strategy going in
Hmm.
was, what I'm chronically online. I've been following booktubers since
Forever.
2013,
Yeah,
2014.
I watched that. You've been
Yeah.
watching BookTube for 10 years at least.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
so I knew, oh, maybe even earlier. I don't know. Anyway, I knew that I wanted to hop in on the discussions, and I kind of knew, okay, start of the year is going to be a great time for or favorite books of the previous year. So I made that video. Then I kind of invested in a Wheel of Time video, because I just finished the Wheel of Time at the end of the previous year. And so I knew that it wouldn't take off immediately, but it did have a spike in my analytics once my channel started growing. So I
Hmm.
kind of saw that as an investment video. Then I did, okay. And then here's where my strategy really started kicking into place. I started thinking, okay, how can I get my videos to be highly searched, but also interesting for me to make? Because in my Q&A for the 5,000 subscribers,
Hmm.
someone asked me, I guess, how I view the algorithm thing. And my take on it is it takes me like 20 hours to make a video. And so I don't want to divulge 20 or more hours on a video that is a topic that does not interest me. So for
Hmm.
example, Bridgerton season 3 was airing earlier in the year. I don't really care about Bridgerton. So I didn't make a Bridgerton video. However,
Sure.
Anyone But You was coming out, and it's based on Much Ado About Nothing by Shakespeare. And
Okay.
say one thing about Vera, say she loves Shakespeare. So
And Joe Abercrombie, apparently. Yeah. We'll,
Crombie.
we'll talk about him today, too.
Yeah, and so I love Shakespeare, and so I was like, okay, perfect. I'm going to connect Shakespeare to Much Ado About Nothing. And then 2 weeks later, I was a bit late on the trend for this. Oh no, I lied. That was my fourth video. The week previously, I tried to do the same thing with um, Coriolanus by Shakespeare and the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes adaptation. I knew that I was like 2 months late for that, but there were still some videos trickling in here and there. I was too late for it though. That being said, I'm still glad I made that video. Do I think it's kind of clunky looking back? Yeah. However, I had an excuse to read Coriolanus by Shakespeare. So can I complain? No.
Oh,
And so then we get to my fifth video, which is my Dune video, which again, when I watch it back, I'm like, oh, this is not great. But
but I'm
for
proud
the
of you for
time,
watching it back, because that's really the only way you get better, is to watch and
yeah,
go, okay, cringing aside, where are there noticeable things that I could take a note and say, okay, next time I do a video, I'm going to do this or not do that. And no, that's impressive for sure that you do that.
yeah. And so then I knew that March 1st, Dune Part 2 was coming
Hmm.
out. I have wanted to read Dune for 3, 4 years. And I
Sure.
was like, you know what? If I don't read it now, I'm not going to read it because I won't have the motivation and it's going to be highly searched. Well, yes, of course, I'll make a Dune video. And
Yeah.
so I went to the library. I got the first 4 Dune books because I saw online somewhere, probably from Mike's book reviews, actually,
Hmm.
where I think he said that you can stop after book 4 and have like a completed arc because
Sure.
Frank Herbert unfortunately died before finishing the last 3 books, right? So there was like one extra book to come out. And so I was like, great, I can do 4 books in February and then have the video ready for March 1st. And so I was in the movie theater posting on my Instagram, please watch my video. I was in the Reddit forums trying to post it everywhere and it blew up. And I was like, whoa, people are watching me. That being said, I was also kind of scared because once the numbers started exceeding like 5,000,
Hmm.
I was like, oh, that's a lot of people.
Right.
um,
Be careful
but
what you wish for. Yeah.
yeah, but now
No,
I kind of got used to it. I desensitized. So
I you come across, and there's some questions in the chat that I'm going to get to. So guys, don't worry. I'm not ignoring the chat. I will get to them because I do see them there. Very, you strike me as somebody who has a very active mind. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? And if you agree, has it been that way your whole life?
yeah, I do. I do.
Yeah.
There's
Are there pros and cons that go with
yeah.
that?
Yeah. Um is it okay if I don't talk about this too much because I can explain after the stream, but
Sure.
I was diagnosed with something and I kind of attribute
Okay.
my
No,
overactive mind to that, but I
no,
don't want to talk
no,
about it publicly.
yeah,
So,
no
is that
problem.
okay?
Of
Yeah.
course it's okay. The reason why I even bring it up is because it does not come off as that. It comes off as enthusiasm. So
Mhm.
it's for me, I look at it as mostly as a positive. But yeah, let's move on for a second. We do have some questions. Here's one that probably is not, I don't know, but I'm guessing we have an inside joke here from Cal. Very important question, all in caps. How much mayonnaise is too much mayonnaise?
This guy. Cal has been asking this to everyone. I've seen this in the Tutu Ramble comments. He's
Okay.
put this in my comments. I haven't responded. I don't know. I'm not really a big mayonnaise girl, so I'm sorry, Cal. Please
I,
don't unsubscribe. But I do like the mayonnaise with sriracha mixed in.
Ooh, okay. We
So
get a little bit of extra flavor. Heidi,
yeah.
great patron of the channel. Vera, what is your favorite Witcher novel? We're going to talk about that a little bit today too. And what's your favorite Witcher short story? Mine is Baptism of Fire and A Little Sacrifice.
Those are amazing choices, and Baptism of Fire was my number 2, it's now my number 3, but my favorite is, The Tower of the Swallow, Wieża Jaskółki.
Yeah.
It's so good, it's so good. I love the framing of it. I won't go into it because I don't wanna spoil stuff, but I think the way it's framed is so good, and the final sequence is so cinematic, and it's a scene it marries battle with a dance
Hmm.
and a beautiful landscape that makes everything come to life so much. And we follow this one specific character in that book so closely, and you see this character struggle so hard. And then by the end, when it's like this dance, but it's a battle, but it's this very specific, unique location for this battle. And you see this character succeed, and well, it's just so good. So yeah, The Tower of the Swallow is my favorite Witcher book, and my favorite Witcher short story. I don't know. There's so many. I think I'd say my top 2, and I know this is super basic. I know it's basic,
Doesn't matter.
but
It's your favorite. It's your favorite.
yeah, it's between. Oh, okay, no, I can't choose. It changes day to day. Either The Last Wish,
Okay.
because I'm a simp for Yennefer, and it's also so funny. It's so funny. Everything from oh no, I can't say, man, but it's so funny. It's a retelling kind of like not really 1001 Nights. Not really a retelling of that, but it takes inspiration kind of from also like Aladdin and Jasmine, right?
Cool.
What's that story? Right. It takes some inspiration from that. But that one aside, I love that one. Also, the apple juice. The apple juice. The people who read it know what. Well, probably know what I'm talking about, but the people who don't because they didn't include the apple juice in the Netflix series. They turned it into an orgy, but that's fine. And then and then the other short stories that I would say are my favorite are The Sword of Destiny
Okay.
and Something More, because the end of Something More, every time I cry. Every time. So
So I think
yeah.
you have such a unique perspective on the Witcher books because, of course, the author's from Poland. You're originally from Poland. Tell us a little bit about, as a fantasy reader, how important is The Witcher to somebody that is, Polish as, as a nationality? Because it seems like it's quite important for you.
It is. So I wouldn't say that's what I always say in my videos where I talk about The Witcher. If you notice, I never say this is my favorite fantasy series
Hmm.
because it's not. Um, Maybe counting its adaptation, well, video game adaptations,
Sure. Yeah, Witcher
maybe,
3 is
but
the bomb for sure.
oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
But I always say it's the most important fantasy series to me. And so, what do I mean by that? I was introduced to The Witcher has permeated my entire life, to be honest. Some of my earliest memories are of watching my uncle play The Witcher 1
Sure.
on PC and being super confused by and really scandalized by okay, for context, The Witcher 1 opens up with this assault on the keep, the Witcher keep that is called Kaer Morhen.
Hmm.
And Triss, this redheaded gal, she walks out and she's wearing this scandalous shirt where her boobies are peeking out. She's showing a lot of her personality. And
Yeah.
little Vera was so scandalized. She was
Yeah.
like, Wujek, stop watching this. This
Yeah.
is bad.
Yeah.
and so and so that's like one of my earliest memories of The Witcher. The Triss hate started young.
Yeah.
But no, and then my dad, he was a fan of The Witcher when it was coming out in Fantastica, which was this like magazine during his childhood, and that's where the short stories were first published. So he talked to me about it a lot. I obviously, since it was my dad, I was like, no, if my dad likes something, I can't like it. So I
Right.
didn't really go into it. But then I was forced to read The Witcher in 8th grade because it was uh, like a reading assignment for a Polish class. And so we had to read the first book, and we had to analyze the third short story, which is called The Lesser Evil, with the class. And I did it. And Polish is a very difficult language. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
And so even for me, and especially like English is the language of my academics. And so Polish classes have always been quite difficult for me. And so doing this analysis it took a lot out of me, but I really liked it. But then the fourth short story, I think, is The Edge of the World. And I think that one's kind of bad. And so after I read that one, I didn't read the last short story, which is The Last Wish. Because I was like, okay, I want to come back to this, but I can't be doing this right now because I had a lot of workload and stuff. But then I went back to it. But anyway, moving forward in time, then I decided to read through The Sword of Destiny, I think, or Blood of Elves, which is book 3. And then I got the Witcher video game, and then I loved The Witcher 3 so much, and then I finished the rest of the series. So that's my kind of journey. But as a Polish person, sorry, because I got a bit off track.
That's
as
what
a Polish
this show is
person,
all about. We like tangents here, so you're right on course. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but as I was saying, for Poland, I think The Witcher is very important. I remember another one of my like early memories was when not like very early, but when The Witcher 3 was coming out, it was full on like on television. It was like, look at this Polish video game about Polish, like The Witcher. Like
big deal.
It was a huge deal.
Yeah.
And the fact that it did so many numbers, the fact that but I believe it was either the prime minister. Yeah, I think it was Donald Tusk. Anyway, I think the prime minister gave The Witcher 2 to Barack Obama when he visited Poland. Like,
that is so
this
funny.
was all over the news,
but that's how important it was.
Yeah, and we have murals dedicated to this in Łódź, which is where Sapkowski is from, I believe. When The Witcher Netflix was coming out, it was all over Warsaw. It's so important. To be honest, I don't think a Polish person, I don't know how many Polish people there are that don't know The Witcher.
Or unaware, yeah.
Yeah, and also when we speak of the video game and not just the books, the visual, the aesthetic of The Witcher, I think, oh my God, it captures rural Poland so well. I mean, when I say ancient, our first king was like in 10,022, I think, coronated.
Yeah.
It was Bolesław Chrobry, for those interested. And then before him, the guy who christened Poland, it was, I believe, 900. Okay, and I always mess this up. It's either 966 or 996, one of the two.
I'm not going to fact check you on that one, so you're good.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But there's still there are these little recreations of what Poland looked like from maybe not back in those days, but at least during the medieval times. And those places are called Skansen. And next to my grandparents' house, which are like the family house, because both of my grandparents, like on both sides of my family, they were the first people to come into Warsaw from like the countryside, and so when I go back to their family homes, which are in the middle of nowhere, they have my grandparents from my mom's side, they have one of those recreations, this skansen, really close to their house. And so we'd go there, and there are like farmers markets, and they still do the celebrations of like the Święto Chleba, which is the celebration of bread and stuff. Like it's these like
Sure.
really like traditional like Polish things, and um like all that, it's still there, you know. It's if you ever
They've
played The
kept the
Witcher 3,
culture.
it's like
Yeah.
watching, yeah, it's like walking into White Orchard.
Very cool.
And so when I see that recreated, I don't know, it really makes you feel at home, you know. And so for that reason, it's also special to me, like to talk about it. And
Super
that's
important.
why I was sad that the Netflix series didn't go in that direction.
And
But
you know, I was watching your video and
yeah.
it was hilarious to me because you were talking about, oh, and I can't wait for season 4, and then you clip in the Curb Your Enthusiasm music, and I was just like, oh, this girl's fantastic. She's got some Larry
Yeah.
David in her because she's like, you know, I think I'm slowly turning into Larry as I get older. Um, so I was watching that and I was like, oh yeah, yeah, she's right on the money. You know, you have the ability to answer a question that I don't know anybody else has, and that is, what is the difference, if any? Because I know you've read it in both languages. Is
Yeah.
there a noticeable difference between the Polish version of Witcher books in English? Because I've heard some people say, you know, maybe it wasn't for me, or maybe it was just, you know, the translation to English didn't, you know, really bring out the true story. In your opinion, you've read these books in both languages.
Yeah.
Is that correct or not?
Yeah, I think it's correct. So the best author that I can compare Sapkowski to is my beloved Joe Abercrombie. And the reason I do that is because both of them write in a very cynical style.
Hmm.
They At the core of their story is wanting to subvert fantasy in a way or another. And well, I'd say Sapkowski wants to subvert the fairy tale more, but just saying fantasy, right? And and they do it in a very cynical way, but they cushion it with so much humor.
Sure.
And when I was on Joanna's channel for Why Read, I gave the example of the final battle. No spoilers, this is just the name. So if you don't Google the name, you'll be fine.
Hmm.
But the final battle in the last book is called uh, originally the Battle of Old Bottoms, because it takes place near a town called Old Bottoms. Now, Brian, when I say Old Bottoms, what does that bring to mind?
Old bottoms. Yes.
Is it funny? Do you have any like intense reaction to it, or is it just like, oh, okay?
It depends on my mood at the time. If I'm just sort of reading to reading, I just go, it's okay. If I'm thinking it's old bottoms, honestly, I'm thinking that it's some older person's butt. So I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but like you said, it's like 50-50 depending on how you're feeling. In
Yeah.
Polish, it is Bitwa pod starymi dupami, which translates to like literally, sure, old bottoms, but old asses would have been better.
Sure.
Or because it's supposed to be funny, you know. And in
Yeah.
Polish, like if you call someone stara dupa, it's it's kind of offensive, but it's also just funny. And so that's why they
Right.
renamed the battle to the
Right.
Battle of Brenna, because obviously you can't be insinuating that the people fighting on both sides are old asses, right? And so if they or like old assholes, something like that, you know. And
Sure.
so the point was the humor, and the humor, I think, especially, is so lost.
Yeah.
Some translations just don't make sense to me either. For example, uh the A Little Sacrifice Story. There's this character called Essie Davin, and she's this bard, and she's very shy, perhaps, and she's very sweet, and she's basically supposed to be the anti Yennefer to some extent, because Yennefer
Okay.
is neither of those things.
Yeah.
And so in Polish, this it's a bit layered, because her nickname is Oczko, and they translate that to little eye. Now, what you don't get is that in Polish, we have the saying that someone is an eye in your head, or like a little eye in the center of your head. So an oczko w głowie. And that means that something is very dear and important to you. So
Okay.
on one hand, it's kind of taking from that. But on the other hand, it's a diminutive form of I. So for example, if I had you can say in English, this is a dog, but a child would probably say, oh, it's a doggy,
Right.
and
Yep.
so that's also how it is, like I, cutesy eye, and so it plays on those two things. In
But
English,
you
they
don't pick it
translate
up
it
in
to
the
little
English. Yeah.
I. Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't get either of those things in English. Little
So
I
what?
just doesn't make sense.
So we were talking about the humor, and of course, you're such a huge fan of Joe Abercrombie's. Does he have any of the First Law books in Polish?
Yeah, I think all of them are translated.
Have you read any?
No.
I think it'd be an
um,
interesting experiment to take like one of your funniest chapters of something that you love in the First Law because you've read it all, and pick a chapter that cracks you up or whatever, and see if the humor translates from his native English into a Polish translation and almost test it back the other way that you're able to do with The Witcher, because that I think that would be just a fascinating thing, at least for me, to go, I wonder if Joe Abercrombie's funny in a Polish translation, or if something similar happens with what happened with Witcher going from Polish to English. You're the only person I know that could test that, so you've got homework.
I could. And the other thing that just I'm sorry, last thing. I know
Yeah.
I rambled so much, but the
No, no,
last
no,
thing
it's
is,
good.
you're all probably familiar with Bookborn's video on why she didn't like The Witcher, and she brought up like that there was a lot of sexism in it, and fair enough. Like there are a lot of boobies in The Witcher. However, a lot of sometimes it's the fault of the translator because you don't. It's not felt as much in the Polish, I think, because um, sometimes Polish words have multiple meanings, right? And
Hmm.
so when it would be like, oh, Geralt or someone put their head on someone else's chest, that would be translated to he put his face in her tits, and
Right.
like that's not exactly the point, but yeah.
It absolutely makes sense to me.
So
But we have Esme has a question, and then I'll get to some of my other ones here. But Esme has a question. She says, "I am curious, Vera, what video are you the proudest of, and is that also the video that you had the most fun making?"
so yeah, I know. I'm actually really happy because a lot of people say that their best videos are the ones that like catch the algorithm, aren't the ones that they put the most work in, or they're not like the proudest of.
Hmm.
But for me, that's not the case because my Witcher ranking video is my favorite video that I made. I think it's really good. Yeah, I'm really proud of it. But my most fun video, I do like my hot takes videos. Some and they're I can never predict if they're gonna do well or not. I also loved my Joe Abercrombie ranking video, even though like it's quite basic, but I it just made me so happy to talk about Joe Abercrombie. um,
Absolutely. And I like how you've also like surveyed your own community for, for cool content ideas that are of interest to them. Like you'll say unpopular opinions. What are some hot takes that you guys have that I can react to and respond to, and almost build yourself an audience right from your existing audience of things that they're interested in knowing. So I think you've just done a phenomenal job on that. I'm so slow on this chat, you guys, because I'm so focused on what Vera's talking about here. Um, yeah, Matt says I have been seeing her Cormac videos shared and praised around Twitter. See, Twitter's where the booktubers are hanging out, Vera. Britain's here, some okie dude. Hello there. Um, so Mac has a question, and I don't. Maybe Mac. Is Mac somebody that you're familiar with yet, or not?
Oh, I don't know. I know this is bad, but I, my
Hmm.
OG commenters like RD's Library, Cal, Mr. Rosenbeing, Steve Canada,
Hmm.
all of you guys, if you're watching, like I always like recognize them and I
Sure,
always reply to them.
sure.
The people that have come in a bit later, it take just because I get. This is gonna sound so like
No,
I'm
but
the best,
tell
but
us, because I think that
just because I
that helps
get
people understand. Hey, if they comment on somebody's video, they don't get an immediate reply or any reply. There's generally a reason.
Yeah, just sometimes the volume of comments is just too much for me. So I give myself the rule of I respond to every comment that is made within 24 hours.
Mhm.
If it's a slow growing video, then maybe I'll push it to like 48. But I don't
And
know.
you
And then
moved
I'll
on.
only respond to the comments that I think are particularly, I don't know, like say something that hasn't been said before, or they're short and funny,
Novel
or
that
whatever.
catches
And
your
so,
attention.
yeah,
Yeah.
past a certain
The
point,
reason
I
why I
just
ask about
can't.
Max specifically is because this guy is a top 5 reader in my community for sure. I don't know any, there's less than 5 people that outread Mac, and he's extraordinarily well read, and actually just hung out with Philip when Philip was in Philip meaning Dr. Chase for everybody who's listening. Um not that long ago when Philip was in Scandinavia, but he's got a question. He says, have you read the Thorgal comics, North Mythology Meets Atlantis by writer Van Ham and Polish artist? I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Maybe you
Grzegorz
can.
Rosiński.
Yeah. I think many fans of The Witcher would love it. Is that something that are you a comic person or manga person?
No, and I'm not really interested in comics or manga, except for a few. Like I like Saga. I'm gonna have to reread that, and I'm also the only form of The Hobbit that I liked was the comic book adaptation.
Hmm.
So, but when I was younger, I really, or like in fifth grade, sixth grade, I was really into like Marvel comics. So,
Cool.
but not really anymore, and I'm not too pressed to get back into it because again, it's 20, 30 hours sometimes that I have to dedicate to one video. And so if I'm not really into a topic, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
you know,
Sorry.
there's chasing the algorithm to take advantage of the things that you're interested in, and then like you said, there's chasing the algorithm for things that you're not. And it's why I
Yeah.
don't do manga on the channel. And I've got a running joke that I do have a copy of One Piece behind glass in my office upstairs that I'm ready to shatter in case of channel emergency. This is an interesting thing because I had taken a note to talk to you about this. Sebastian says I should definitely check out the book sometime soon, talking about The Witcher. The Witcher 3 is my second favorite video game of all time, beaten only by Red Dead Redemption 2. And I thought of you right away when I saw this comment because you had mentioned that you're a gamer and obviously you like The Witcher and you're a fan of Fallout like I am. But you said that you hadn't played Red Dead Redemption 2, and also that Red Country was probably your least favorite in the Abercrombie world. And I started to think, I betcha if Vera, see, there's a Minnesota word for you guys. I bet you that if Vera played Red Dead Redemption 2, she may have a totally different appreciation for Red Country because it might sort of bring back the vibes that you get in Red Dead Redemption 2. And let me tell you, when it comes to a story narrative game, which clearly you like, if you like Fallout and you like the Witcher games, those are all story games. I play them for the story. The combat, I'm okay at. I watched your videos and you said you're maybe okay, maybe not. That's why you don't stream, and that's fine. Who cares? But I play these games for the story. Are you, in agreement with me there that that's really the
Yeah.
drive for you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. In the case of Fallout, because I love Fallout, like
Hmm.
the game that got me into playing video games was Skyrim. And
Sure.
then
Gotta love Skyrim.
I went back through to play some of the older Elder Scrolls and uh, the older Fallouts as well. I haven't played Fallout 3 though, only New Vegas and 4. Oh, and 76, but haven't really
76
sunk
is
too
its
much
own
time
deal.
into that.
I think you'd like
It's its
Fallout
own
3.
thing,
I think
whatever.
you'd like Fallout 3. If you like New Vegas,
Like I
Fallout
know
3
the
is very
story
similar.
because of Oxhorn. I love
Yeah.
Oxhorn. He makes like these lore videos and I love them. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's hard,
but I want to do
sometimes
it definitely.
sometimes it's like I almost always on my favorite video games like Red Dead or Witcher, whatever, I am addicted to watching YouTube playthroughs on some of my favorite streamers that create content just in the gaming space. So, yeah, my wish for you is that you do find a way to get Red Dead 2 on your to playlist whenever you get the time, because I think you'll really love it. Hello, Matt on Books from Germany. I don't know if you are familiar with Matt on Books. Awesome, awesome dude. Where are we? I don't want to get too far behind in the. Oh, here's somebody else. Chance stopping
I do know
by to
Chance. Hello.
say howdy. I don't know if you know Darko, but Kindle and Kicks is a super fun channel. English sucks. Yeah, that's probably from something we were talking about earlier. Here's something interesting from Esme again. Esme, I love having you live in the chat. It's because you're always team replay. So this you are, one of the reasons why I like to do these, daytime for us. She's saying, love these translations insights, clearly by Vera, not by me. I am tempted to read the Dutch translations instead of the English ones because I have heard from many people they are much more faithful. Well, all right. Well, let's get a third opinion here on Witcher books translated from the Polish to the Dutch. All right. Let's just keep cruising through here. So, when you started reading, I had seen that you started reading really, really young. Was fantasy really your first love when it came to literature, or did you kind of find fantasy afterwards?
Um, I'd say that I just kind of it's so hard to say, to be honest, because I've been reading since, like, there wasn't a time that I wasn't reading. The only time that I
Hmm.
can think of that I wasn't reading was in like 2019. I read a bunch of comics then. I kind of reawakened my Marvel phase. I think also because like Infinity War was coming out, but or Endgame, one of the two. But anyway, uh, there wasn't really a time that I wasn't reading, so it's really hard to say. That being said, if you follow the trends of what the girly pups were reading, I was one of the girly pups reading those things as well. So I don't know. So the first book that I can remember was Wagget's Tale.
Okay.
It's about
Tell us
this
about
dog.
that because I have no idea. Yeah.
It's this middle grade about this dog in a park. And then I think his friend gets like euthanized, and I cried. It was like one of the first times I cried in a book. Spoiler, sorry. But
Wow. Okay.
anyway, that was in third grade. In fourth grade, I read A Series of Unfortunate Events, Percy Jackson,
Sure.
um, The Emerald Atlas by, I think, John Stevenson.
I
That
don't
was
know
the
that one.
first fantasy that like I loved, and I was like, I have to read more of this. And I
Okay.
actually want to reread them. And it's also the first trilogy where I waited for the next installment. So that's a very foundational one for me. Aragon in fifth grade. I forced my assistant teacher to do the elfish greeting. It was like that they put their finger to their bottom lip, and then the first person says "Atra esterni onotheldion," and then the other person says, and I don't remember because I made the teacher say this, but whenever I see her, we still do it, and it was something like "Atra mornar something honor."
And
Yeah,
this is from
and then there's a
Aragon?
yeah, this is from Aragon because
Okay.
it has the glossary in the back, and I was a
Okay.
very annoying student. So loved Aragon.
I'm
And
impressed
then
that you remember what years you read these books in. I mean, that's
Goodreads.
awesome. It's
Goodreads.
Goodreads. Okay.
And also like foundational memories. Then sixth
Yeah.
grade, that was my big um I don't know, Hunger Games. I hated Divergent. I read it on my sixth grade class trip. I was reading all the dystopians then as well. And that's when my beloved teacher forced me to start reading classics. And I didn't like classics. But then I waited a couple of years. Oh, that's also when I first read The Catcher in the Rye. That was the one classic
Okay.
that really hit.
Yeah, I
And then
saw
I
that
read
that was
it.
a 5-star for
Yeah,
you. Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it. It's me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So,
awesome. So, in talking about school, you went to school in the UK, correct? At an international school? And
yeah.
you'd mentioned in one of your videos that you moved there really young and you went to international school, and that's why you don't have a British accent. Tell us a little bit about that, because I would think that living there, you would develop more of a British accent, just even so. Did you have teachers that were from America? Did you? I mean,
Yeah.
Where were they from? Because you must have been surrounded with mostly non-British people to
Mhm.
not have any trace of that accent.
Yeah, so I have what I like to term the international school student accent because all of us speak in a very similar fashion, at least if we were in the system for a long time.
Is that
And
like is that unique to your school or is that like any international school?
in general,
Okay,
if yeah, in general, the international school students, because so I was on the swim team. I was the captain of the girls' swim team
cool,
in middle school,
cool.
and we would travel. We would travel to like Moscow and Bucharest and Budapest, and I didn't go on the Athens trip because my wrist was broken, so that was quite disappointing. But anyway, we went to all these schools and it's the same, at least in Europe, it was everywhere like the same accent. And
Sure,
so it's because our teachers are from everywhere. Some of my teachers were from one of my favorite teachers was from Canada. She was the best. She made us every month we had to do a test on the provinces and states or and
sure.
territories of
Yeah, of
Canada.
Canada.
Uh,
Yeah,
that was so good. I had a teacher from New Zealand. I had loads of teachers from the US, different states, some from the UK, some from other like European countries. And so, well, sorry. And so it really depended. And same thing with the students, you know, we all oh my god, sorry, my microphone is falling. We
that's
all
good.
just were learning the language at the same time, and then obviously the people who spoke the language the best were the natives, and
Sure.
there were loads of American natives. So like we just picked up the accent, I guess. Now the people who joined later, what is happening to my microphone? The people who joined later have had stronger accents, but even so, with time, everyone has some degree of
The international school.
international school
That is
accents.
just so cool to me. So, were your classmates really from all over the world? I would have to think
Yep.
so. I mean, we've got somebody in the chat right now who's from Kuwait who went to school in the UK as well. So I think it must just pull in, from all over the place. What part of the UK were you studying in?
So I was. This is gonna sound super posh, but hear me out. Hear me
Hey, I
out.
lived in Kensington, which was like the most posh part of London. So I'll just frame it that way.
So hear me out. We everyone knows Windsor.
Yep.
I didn't live in Windsor. There's the long walk, right? Leading from like this little statue thing to the entrance of the palace. And then on the other side of the statue, there's this park. And I lived on the other side of the park. And then the school was also around the park as well. And so I didn't live in Windsor. I lived like half an hour from Windsor, but I first lived in Ascot. And so yeah, that as well. And so most of our like doctor's appointments and I don't know, birthday parties and stuff
Sure.
were either in Ascot, Slough, or Windsor. And so that's kind of the area that I was in.
For people who are unaware, how far is that for something like London?
Uh, an hour and a half,
Okay.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like we'd go to London on like most, well, maybe not most, but like lots of weekends. And but the place that we'd go to the most was Legoland.
Yes. I love that. We've got a hello from your buddy Tom. Tom Orange is in
Woo.
the chat. Now this dude is awesome. He was such a great guest on the show as you are
Yeah.
and one of my literary heroes. One of my favorite people to DM on the regular is here author extraordinaire Janny Wirtz is
Oh my
here
god.
in the chat saying, "Hey, we still have power." Janny, I've been thinking about you all week. Janny is in Florida where the hurricanes are unrelenting this year, but she lives on the high ground, folks. So hopefully it's just wind that her and her husband Don are protected well enough against. But Janny, I'm really, really happy to see you here because I was thinking about you this morning because I know today is kind of landfall day. Very, very cool. So of course
Brian, would it
yes,
be okay if I just shouted out that we were, that me, you, John, some other people, I think, as well, will be doing the January Words of
absolutely.
Light and Shadow read
Absolutely.
along. So
So John who? I've not heard of this John
this guy
person.
that's really obsessed with like tingles, I don't know, it's kind of weird,
Seems a
but
little creepy to me.
yeah, a bit creepy. I mean, he's
And
like
he's
what, 70, right?
and
So
he's talking he's like 90 years old and he's talking about that with
yeah, no,
his
I think he's
adult
turning
son.
100 soon enough. So
Yeah, it's just
I don't know, a
So
bit
I have a funny
creepy.
story. So I was talking to Jimmy Nuts for about an hour and a half this morning on Discord, and we were just talking about whatever. And we were talking about January because originally it was so funny. John and I had talked about doing it. Of course, we're talking about John Minton from Talking Story, folks. If you're just listening and you're like, who is he even talking about? So, John and I were talking about, doing a read through together of The Wars of Light and Shadow. And we brought it up. And then I think Christopher Navo said, hey, I'd kind of like to join you guys. And I was like, okay, cool. And so I'm thinking, okay, it's the three of us. Now then John goes out and says, okay, and he doesn't tell me any of this, right? And I get a message from him saying, hey, by the way, there's like 6 or 7 of us now on this read along and it's going to be incredible. And I'm like, huh? What are you talking about? He's like, yeah, we got European people and we've got men and we've got women, we've got people of all ages. It's going to be fantastic. I'm like, dude, I'm so glad you're organizing this because I had absolutely no idea. And he also was like, hey, and we're starting in January. And I was like, okay. So yeah, it's going to be fun, and I'm excited you're going to be part of it. Now, have you read any Janny Words yet?
Nope. Curse of the Mist Wraiths. Curse of the Mist Wraith. Sorry.
Yep. Yep.
Is gonna be my first one,
Okay.
and I'm very happy there's an audiobook.
There
I'll
is.
be I'll be
I
starting
have
the
it.
audiobook in December to be ready for January.
Yeah, that's completely awesome. I'm actually recording a video tomorrow and I'm talking about 5 more 5-star books because I really standalones because I really don't give 5-star books 5-star ratings hardly ever. Kind of like you.
Nice.
You're very particular about something has to impact you on a deeper level than just a great story for something to get 5 stars. And did a video a long time ago, a long time ago. The channel's not even 11 months old yet. Did a video back in the olden days of February that talked about 5-star fantasy and sci-fi standalones, and I'm updating that with 5 new ones or 5 more ones tomorrow for Friday. And Janny's To Ride Hell Chasm, not to spoil anything, is in there, and I'm really glad that I read that book first because it gave me such insight into her way of writing, which is super unique. Now, I will say, because you've read Gardens of the Moon, and we could talk about that too, I think you'll be just fine. Her writing style is definitely different than Steven Erickson's, but if you can read and understand Gardens of the Moon to the best that anybody can, because it does leave a lot of holes intentionally as you get through the series, you'll be just fine with her book. Normally she'll even be the first to say, hey, go read something else first and see if you like my style before committing to the big series, as she calls it. But I know you're going to be just fine. And of course, Matt is saying, I'm sure it'll stretch into October too. Yeah, it is. Cause I think we're going to do one every other month. So it's actually going to
Yeah.
stretch out quite a ways. I just want to make sure that I didn't miss anything hugely important. I think we're good on there. So one of the things that we've talked about a little bit is that you like to, not to say take advantage, but I'll say leverage your content creation and your TBR on upcoming bigger events. Like I'm sure you'll be reading Wind and Truth right when it comes out, not only because you like
Yeah.
the series, but also because it's timely. Like I don't see you putting that off until April and then coming in on the 1000th video later that has discussed it. So I suspect, the timing of that, along with your personal enjoyment, will dictate a December read. where
Yeah.
do you think, like, how do you figure out what books you want to read that are not going to be in the pop culture, that are not going to be eminently searchable, um, anytime soon? What drives your TBR? Is it other booktubers? Is it just this long list of things? Tell us a little bit about what goes into a Vera TBR outside of the immediate what's happening in the book world.
If someone can convince me uh, strongly enough, then I will listen to them. Um, Sometimes, so I can't believe I'm doing this, especially since I know they're not watching. The Tutu Ramble Patreon.
Okay.
Is for people who watch Tutu Ramble, it's kind of a joke that they always plug their Patreon. But so I was convinced to join their Patreon, and they have a very persuasive Discord now.
Okay.
And the people there, they know how to pitch a book. And so a bunch of my reads this year were because I was persuaded. That being said, sometimes, to be honest, I go kind of off of vibes. So
Sure.
right now I'm kind of burning out on science fiction and fantasy
Hmm.
because I haven't really found one that spoke to me a
Hmm.
lot recently. A lot of books that I think are mid or disappointing or lackluster. And so I'm like, I don't want to read this because they're so long as well. And
Sure.
it's October, and I was recommended some classic horrors like The King in Yellow, Carmilla, and like my roommate, she loves Carmilla as well, and she has this beautiful edition. And so I'm trying to push through the end of the what is it called? 2 seconds. The Southern Reach trilogy. Sorry, I have
Okay.
my copy here. I'm
Love
trying to
it.
push through. I have like 50 pages left, and then I'm free. But
See?
spoilers for that video whenever it comes out. But it goes
Yeah.
downhill. um, yeah. Anyway, and so
So you're not a
because I
you're not a
want to.
DNFer then, I take it.
So I was before YouTube, and so now I'm kind of. So here's the thing now, right? If it's not just DNFing a book, it's DNFing a video.
Hmm. Yeah,
And by
it's
that
true.
point, I've already recorded segments. I've already
For the
maybe even
vlogs.
edited segments.
Yeah.
Am I really going to waste all that work and all that planning just
Yeah.
because I don't like a book? Like,
Yeah.
to be honest, if it's the last book in a trilogy, so my original plan, again, spoilers for my video,
Hmm.
but the original plan was that Absolution, the new book in now the tetralogy, is going to be coming out, I think, the 22nd of October. And I was like, great, I'm going to read that book and I'm going to release the video where I read the entire tetralogy the week later. That's not happening anymore because I don't care enough to continue to Absolution. It's kind of a prequel telling some other stories about exhibitions into Area X, and I don't care. So
I I
it's not
feel
going to happen.
I feel like there's a story here with Maya. I wish someone would take my
We're not
suggestion.
getting into this. Maya, I'm gonna text you after this and we're gonna have you're gonna have us turn talking too.
So funny. Dennis, I just want to say, how about random indie authors from chats? Dennis, I received your book in the mail yesterday, and I'm looking forward to talking about it on the next book haul video. And that kind of like, I'm sort of with you, by the way, Vera, on book haul videos in general. I do them sort of in the same regard that Mike from Mike's Book Reviews does them, mostly as a way of thanking people that have taken the
Mm.
opportunity to do them. They're not the most compelling videos in terms of like my excitement level to make, other than the excitement of being able to thank people. But I feel like you and I are of the same mind on some of that type of content. Like, do people really care what I got or what I,
Well, they get
you know,
loads of videos and lots of views, so
it's,
the
it's,
only ones that I watch are from Talking Story sometimes.
yeah, yeah, talking story. Again, I've not heard of that channel, but since you've brought it up, I'll be sure to check it out. Another extremely well-read friend of the channel, Daniel, is here. I'm late to the party. Hello, everyone. Same with Oh My God Fantasy. Hi, everybody. It's awesome to have you here. And another great friend of the channel, all the way from Croatia, Stepan. You're not having to watch this video with your morning Turkish coffee for once. See, I actually remember things, you guys.
Oh, I just finished mine.
At my
So
advanced
not
age, I
Turkish
can
though.
actually remember a couple of things here and there. So, have you? There's so many things that I want to get to. I know we're going to wind up doing a part 2 of this show another time for sure. Because remember, I told you we're going to get to like maybe a half of our questions.
Y-
We might get to a third of them. I'm not sure. But this is great. I love it.
Sorry, I yap too much. The same thing
No,
happens when I record. I yap and then
no,
I'm like,
but
Vera,
this
shut up.
no, absolutely not. I don't wanna filter you at all. This is what makes our show super unique. I don't wanna do question and an answer, question and an answer. The questions are in this episode and in all episodes of From Who the Bell Tolls, the questions are starting places. They're just a mechanism for us to get into a conversation about something and see where it goes. Look at this. Slay! One of my favorite people. I started my McCartney journey with Blood Meridian.
That's
Okay.
crazy.
Which
Good
of these
job. That's
book
crazy.
which of these books should I read next? Love this episode. You two are amazing. Wow, she's super fantastic energy emanations. And this is something that again I've talked to Jimmy Nuts about quite a bit because in my opinion he's the goat of the BookTube interview show. 90% of the battle of doing this show, you guys, is having the right guests that have something to say. So when Vera is talking about, oh, I'm talking so much, blah, 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 this is great. This is what we're looking for in a guest. So don't censor yourself. Slay. Thank you so much for the 5 spot. It's fantastic. You guys just super cool. Where was I? Oh, I wanted to ask you.
Oh, wait, can I answer his question about the
Yes.
which
Oh, yeah,
book are
yeah,
you
yeah.
to read
Yes,
next?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Please. Thank you.
Okay, slay. Okay, so I think so. I've only read three other than Blood Meridian. But my take would be this: do you like No Country for Old Men, the movie, slash do you like thrillers and fast plot? Because that's what you're gonna get in No Country for Old Men. Then, are you a father? And if yes, do your homework and read The Road right now because you're doing a disservice to your child if you haven't. My friend who is a father and well, actually no, I think he wants to be a father, and he just finished the book like 2 or 3 days ago, and he sent me a text, or it was in the Tutor Ramble Discord, um, and he said like, this, I'm never reading a Cormac McCarthy book again. This is one of the best things I've read recently. This is going to stay with me for so long, but it like screwed me over so hard. I don't know if I can ever read one. So if you feel a bit too happy and you have a child, The
Through
Road.
the road. Yeah.
However, if you want to read my personal favorite, which is a romance, or rather a book that uses romance as a contrast for loss of innocence and tragedy, it's very beautiful. Like it really marries the two sides of growing up, right? The loss of innocence and the first love. It marries those two in this beautiful narrative that then ties back to some like historical events in Mexico and stuff like that. Then read All the Pretty Horses, which is my favorite so far. But yeah, hope that helped.
You've definitely got a lot of Cormac under your belt at this point. So that's pretty incredible. I
I'm
love
so
it.
excited to read more.
Are there any big series that you are really fired up to get into? We talked about the Wars of Light and Shadow. Obviously, that's going to be one of them. I see that in your Gardens of the Moon video that you had mentioned you were going to try, and this may be out of date, to get to Dead House Gates and Memories of Ice by the end of the year. Is that still
Dead
something?
House Gates.
Dead House Gates.
Dead House Gates is going to happen. Memories of Ice is not.
Yeah.
Next year. Yeah.
So we're pretty close in the Malazan journeys that we're taking because I am maybe 30% into book 4. But I will tell you that if you liked Gardens of the Moon enough to continue to Dead House Gates, it only does get better. And I think you're going to dig it quite a bit. Are there any, by the way, in your Gardens of the Moon video, I had to take a quote. And I quote Vera here. This is excellent. If for you Malazan fans, you're going to understand this. For you non-Malazan fans, it'll make no sense.
I know what it
And I
is.
quote, all I wanted was some crocus smut.
Yeah. Yeah. Also,
Well, I,
also, I don't
well,
know if you remember, but I said at one point, Gardens of the Moon is my favorite romantasy of all time, I think.
yeah.
Or maybe I didn't say it in the video, but that was my take. Yeah, all I
What,
wanted was some
what,
crocus smut.
well, I have good news for you, and this is not a spoiler. So, because I'm sure you've already heard that Dead House Gates has 90% of a brand new cast
Mhm.
than Gardens of the Moon. But here's the good news: your favorite character is a main character in Dead House
A
Gates.
main character?
I
What?
don't know that it's a POV character, but certainly in a ton of the book. So
I love crocus so much.
So you're not going to have to go through an entire book without getting your crocus fix. So
It's my baby.
I thought that might make your day a little bit without spoiling anything, but maybe that's an incentive to grab Dead House Gates a little bit faster. So those are big series, right? Molasses huge. Obviously, Wars of Light and Shadow, Janny's big series. And by the way, Janny has got some advice for you here in the chat. She says, Dead House Gates, get tissue.
If Crocus dies, I'm sent. Oh, so Dr. Philip Chase doesn't know me, but I will be sending him a very long text to forward to Steven Erickson. Yeah. Honestly, I keep joking that if I meet Joe Abercrombie, I'm gonna give him like a therapy bill. If Crocus dies, same thing for Steven Erickson. Sorry,
I'm
you
not
can't do
saying
that to me.
I'm
It's
not
so
saying
rude.
anything because
Don't tell me, but
no, it's the worst. It's like you just don't want to know. Um, Nobody wants to know this stuff, So, but are there other series like again? These are two huge ones, so I certainly wouldn't recommend starting monster series while you have those going on. But are there any like smaller trilogies that are sort of on your radar that maybe have been kind of BookTube darlings and over the last few years, but maybe you haven't gotten into them yet. Something like the Greenbone Saga by Fonda
mm,
Lee, or some books of that nature. Anything kind of out
yeah,
there for you that way?
I haven't read the Greenbone Saga. I haven't read the fifth season, and I haven't read the Poppy War. And those are big three ones that I
Hmm.
want to knock out within the next year. Also, because I kind of noticed that I was like this year, I really haven't been reading any like diverse authors. Like it's mostly old white men, which like
Hmm.
no hate to them. They're so like they're great, but like
We are.
I don't know. I feel bad because I feel like I'm getting such a narrow scope of what I'm reading at the moment. And so it's not that I don't want to, it's just for some reason I haven't prioritized that this year. And I think maybe it's because of the YouTube thing, because when I was
Mhm.
again like trying to get the algorithm,
Sure.
Dune, I actually John Gwynn, I'm gonna that video is gonna be pushed to November, but I'll be starting his stuff now. But I keep seeing
Which
Joanna
which one are
read
you?
Ishiguro and
Yeah.
the Shadow of the Gods. But I
Okay, so
keep
you're going to start
seeing
with the
Joanna
Bloodsworn.
read,
Got it. Okay.
yeah, yeah. Uh, but I keep seeing Joanna read authors that I really want to get to, like Ishiguro and recently Toni Morrison. And um, I don't think she's read Octavia Butler recently, but I love Kindred and I really want to read more from her. And for my classic horror video that I'm kind of slotting in now because I'm really in the mood for like short classic horror.
Hmm.
Um, like The King in Yellow. I wanted to slot in Fledgling by Octavia Butler into that, but then I saw that it was like over 300 pages, and I'm like, oh, well, that's too long. I won't be able to make it in time. And so I'm like, okay, you know what? Screw it. I want to make a video for Octavia Butler by herself because like I know I'm gonna love it because I love Kindred. It's so good. You have to read Kindred. So yeah, my goal for next year is to prioritize more authors of color as well because like
So
I
I
haven't
think
done that this year.
I think that that's pretty fair. Janny's got an interesting statement here. Try Lighthouse Duet by Carol Berg. Two books, monster story, depth and character.
Taking a
I
photo.
can never predict. Janny's like, I mean, we were talking about well-read people before. I mean, come on, Janny's the most well-read of everybody in the BellTube community by a
Mhm.
long shot. Let me ask you this one. Here's another one. Gentleman Bastard series, The Lives of Locke Lamora. Have you
So
read
you
it?
know how I said that you know how I said the algorithm motivates me to read books? It
Hmm.
also demotivates me to read books.
Yeah.
Gentleman Bastards is one of those because Scott Lynch has recently said that he's like taking new author photos and stuff like that for
Hmm.
something.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm thinking, what if he announces The Thorn of Ember Lane?
Sure.
That would be an amazing time to do a video for the
Time to
algorithm.
start it. Well,
So
well,
I
I,
might as well maximize engagement. I don't know.
Well, I mean, here's the deal on that. I think what's most likely to happen is he's going to have his short stories come out first before
Mm,
the Thorn of Emberlane. Even so, if there are other items on your TBR and you still know at some point, say in the next year or two, you're going to get to the Gentleman Bastard sequence, um, then I think it's fine. I just having this is really our first one-on-one conversation, obviously, but having watched your videos and having seen your engagement when you're on Joanna's channel, I think you like smart books, and The Lies of Locke Lamora is a very smart book, and it's a not only a smart book, but it's highly entertaining, and I think you're going to love it. I don't think there's going to be anything about The Lies of Locke Lamora that doesn't resonate with you, so I think it's going to be something that you can really look forward to. I wish I could
yeah, I
say the
do.
same about the fifth season books. I personally, they didn't work for me, but I'm always, read and find out for yourself. Your mileage is going to vary. I did a thing back in January. I don't know why I thought of it. It's one of those things that you do when you're new booktubers. You come up with just bonkers ideas. And one of them was called the DNF challenge, where I messaged 7 booktubers and I said, give me a book you DNF'd, and I'm going to make my whole TBR for January what you quit on. And I read them all. And I will
Oh,
pick the
wow.
worst one at the end of the month. For me, that's the one that won, was the fifth season. Josh
No!
from Red Fury Books. And it was interesting too, because I had every end of the spectrum, right? So I had Andrew from Andrew's Wizardly Reads, who DNFs every other book that he picks up, right? Then I've got people like Philip and Mike and Josh, who rarely, if ever, DNF a book. So I knew that
Mm,
those would be a little bit trickier, because these guys never DNF anything. How difficult can these be? Now, I will say about the fifth season, you'll know pretty quickly getting into it if it's something that's your jam or not. So
mhm.
I think I'll be interested to find out. Yeah, We Are the Dead is another. That's the Last War trilogy by Mike Shackle, and I think why Stepan is bringing this up and why I would as well. I haven't even read it yet, but from what I hear, if you like Joe Abercrombie, and rumor is you do, that Mike Shackle's
For
books are very, very good and excellent for people that are also into the first law world. Yeah, just the devils. How awesome is it that that book is coming out? By the way, like, you're fangirling over it, I'm fanboying over it. We're seeing people like Patrick already read it and review it. And hey, Patrick, by the way, if you're watching this, but how like awesome is that? Like, if you got an arc, would you want to read it, or would you want to wait till? Let's talk about the algorithm for a second. If Would you want to wait till everybody else has it and they're talking about it to read it, or would you not have the restraint because it's your boy Joe Abercrombie?
Well, Brian, let's just say this. We are entering into territory where something fun, something interesting has happened to me this past week. Something that I cannot talk about yet,
Okay,
but something that I will talk about in my next Vera and Reverie, a very exciting announcement.
cool.
And that's all I say. That's all I'll
That
say for now.
I love it. That sounds exciting, and it
Can't
seems like
say anything
something.
yet.
It seems like something is pretty cool. How Let
Mhm.
me ask you, how has the BookTube community itself sort of like supported you in your journey, or made those challenging days a little bit better? Because we all have them as booktubers, right? I mean, we can put our time and energy and passion into something, and it just flops to whatever level we consider to be a flop. But yet you've had some incredible support. from some of the biggest booktubers. You did your live the other day, and I see Daniel Green pop in, it's like he
Yeah.
doesn't pop into anybody's lives as far as I'm aware. So what does that feel like, as a relatively new content creator, that again, you've been watching BookTube now for 10 years, since before he was even a channel, which is
Yeah.
pretty bonkers. What's that feel
Oh my
like,
god.
and how has that kind of kept the momentum going for your enthusiasm level?
Yeah, no, it's actually so amazing. There's a photo of me taking progress photos from the gym in like 2018 maybe, and I have a Daniel Green video open in the corner. Now that photo's never seeing the internet because there are some weirdos in my comments, but trust me, there I have the receipts.
Sure.
But yeah, so no, when he popped in, I think you can see, I was like, "Oh my god, Daniel Green is
Yeah,
here." And so that was insane to me, and he actually DM'd me afterwards, and he was like, "Hey, good job on your live stream. Kayla and I are huge fans, blah, blah, blah." And I was like,
that's
"The
awesome.
Goblin King and Queen are
Right?
like, no, I exist? That's so crazy."
Yeah.
So that was crazy, but, also no, I'm so thankful because, for example, Patrick,
Hmm.
he followed me like quite early on, and when I was starting to get my first weirdly sexual comments that made me uncomfortable, he was the person who taught me how to block people. So
Sure.
that was very nice. Thanks,
Patrick,
Patrick.
are
I'm
you
forever
getting a bunch of
grateful.
weirdly sexual comments, Patrick? I bet you huggable dude from Indonesia. But yeah, I mean, he's a super dude. But hey,
Yeah,
let
he
me
was
ask you
so
about that
nice.
though. How do you react to when that is it become a little bit more like it's just part of the business at this point for you? Or is it, when you get those weirdo comments? Because I think women in booktube, you look at those analytics, as I know that you do, and you see that 85 plus percentage of your viewers are dudes. So it's like, how do you react back to that, like mentally for you? Is it challenging, or do you just sort of blow it off at this point?
Um, Brian, that was so kind of you to assume that it's, what did you say, 80 something
Yeah.
percent?
Yeah.
It's actually the last 28 days, it's been 90
90%.
point six. Yeah, which for me, that's a really low because for the longest time it was like 95. And so I was
Yeah.
like, okay, where are the girls out? And so I've been trying to reach out for like female viewers a bit more.
Hmm.
And that's something I'll want to do, especially in next year as well. But back to the question, how do I deal with the comments? Well, I block them.
Hmm.
But only if they're creepy,
Hmm.
sometimes, I do take an hour to get ready, because chakra, I don't look like this day to day. Um,
Neither do I,
like
folks.
I
This is a ton of work right here. You kidding me? These dimples are implants. Hey, I got the
Oh yeah.
beard, by the way. I don't know what you guys think about that. Let me know in the comments if the talking story beard is happening for you, or if I'm going back to clean shaven. All right, I interrupted you. Let's talk about those comments and things like that.
I get marriage proposals a lot. I've got like maybe 3 in the past like 5 days. So, that's
Really?
I think I'm doing pretty well. Unfortunately, I haven't responded to them yet, but
Oh, I
but
see.
yeah, I get uh marriage
John,
proposals. I
John,
get
you're
like
married. You're married, John. Stop proposing
oh
to
my
Vera.
god,
Stop proposing to Vera in the comments, John Minton from
so
Talking
creepy.
Story. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, what else? There's been like, oh, you read a girl that reads Cormac McCarthy, my dream girl. There was
right.
also a very funny one. So I responded to one which was like, sorry, mommy? Question mark. And so I responded, son, with like a bunch of exclamation, like
Yeah,
not question marks. I thought
yeah,
that one was quite funny.
yeah.
There was back in the day, there was a marriage proposal to which another suitor responded and said, hey, wait and get in line. There's or like you don't jump ahead, get in line, something like that. Anyway, so I thought that was quite funny. But then there are ones that are like, oh, show me her boobs or whatever, or is it pink, which I didn't know what that meant until booktube, but now I do.
Jeez.
um, And like to some extent, there are videos where I wear low cut tops. There are videos where I wear like a turtleneck,
Mhm.
and I'm not going to change. Like if it really got to a point where it was really bad, I would just not wear the low cut tops,
Sure. Do you
because
suggest
that's
I should
really
start wearing some low
my
top
control.
cup,
Oh, dude,
top
yeah, you'll get
tops?
so much more clicks. One of my friends, Orkish Dad, so we were joking on the Tutu Ramble Patreon. I hate that I'm plugging them so much, but um,
I've never had any. There's a handful of booktubers that have decent sized channels, and them I have had no interaction with. Murphy, I've had no interaction with. Bookborn, I've had no interaction with, and Daniel Green, I'm quite confident doesn't know I exist. But yeah, that's awesome that you've got those interactions. So again, I interrupted you. Please continue.
basically we had a joke that I don't even remember how it started, but it was that I was going to get a boob job, and another member of the Tutor Ramble server was going to go with me, and he was going to get a boob job on his forehead. And so at one point, another Patreon member, I had a thumbnail for my classic dystopians video where I was wearing one of the lower cut tops, and this member said, "Hey Vera, time to start using that boob. You can get a boob job, and if you use it for marketing, you can put it as a tax
Absolutely, expense that
thing."
sucker
So
right off. Yeah.
I was like, that's so smart, going to the clinic right now. So
I
yeah.
that's fantastic. I have a random question for you, and we're going to expand this question because sometimes I like to ask people if we are going to have a dinner party and you were going to invite 4 authors, dead or alive, to join us. I'm going to actually make it 5 because I'm going to throw Joe Abercrombie in there right off the top because I know he's going to be there. So I'll take that one away from you. You got 4 places at
Oh.
our dinner party. Dead or alive, Farah? Who's coming?
Oh, actually, this is maybe easy.
I love
Mary
it.
Shelley, Percy Bysshe Shelley, and Lord Byron. Those are going to be 3. And then, because if I'm sure everyone knows, but in case you don't, the way Frankenstein originated was it was the year without a summer because the volcano erupted, and Mary Shelley, Percy Bysshe Shelley, and Lord Byron, and then Mary Shelley's cousin, but I don't remember her name because she's irrelevant. They went to the Lake District, and it was raining and it was very miserable, and they sat around and they were like, you know what, let's tell each other scary stories. And Mary Shelley had a lot of uh, miscarriages,
Mhm.
and she, I think, also had like a weird dream about one of the babies that she miscarried. And when they sat down to talk about uh, like they someone suggested that they start giving each other that they all write a short story or a story about like some horror story,
Mhm.
right? Some scary story for the campfire or whatever. And that's the only story from that session that came out was Frankenstein, and I
Yep.
love Frankenstein. And so those would be 3. I think
Okay.
they'd be so great, especially Lord Byron. He's kind of crazy. So
Yeah, he was a partier
would
back in the day
love
too, I think. Yeah.
he was a partier, so he would really pull up, I think. And
So
then
you got
for
those.
with Joe Abercrombie, I think that would be so funny. Um, and then uh, and then who else? Oh my god. Uh, I don't know. I don't know. Do you have any suggestions? Like who would add to that group? Who do
Oh,
you
I
think?
mean, th there's a lot. I mean, it just sort of depends what you're going for. When we're talking about authors, I mean, one of them's in the chat right now. Janny Words brings so much like experience and worldly knowledge that transcends literature. She might be up there. I have to say. Uh, Gosh, I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
a
thinking because I want someone kind of crazy. Oh, obviously, Oscar Wilde. Are you kidding
Oscar
me? I love
Wilde.
Oscar Wilde.
He would be
I'm in his
hilarious.
country now. He The Picture of Dorian Gray is one of the most influential books on me, I think, that I've ever read. I think that he would vibe with Lord Byron and Percy and Mary, and so
There's no
I think
doubt. And I think he'd vibe with Joe
that would be so
Abercrombie
much
too.
fun.
I think
Oh,
the
Joe
humors would be.
Abercrombie, he'd be living it up. I swear, he would think they're so funny, and I think Joe Abercrombie has, he's funny. He like the Between Two Ferns interview that he did was so good. And yeah, I think he could party it up a bit as well. So I think I'm going for like pretentious but also party.
But
Um,
yeah, I mean, you got
yeah,
the Lord Byron, but you've also got Mary Shelley. You've got I love that. That's an awesome,
yeah.
awesome answer. I try, folks, I try to give people questions that they haven't been asked before. I think mission accomplished maybe
Yeah.
on that one. Here's one that you might have been asked before. And this is basically, what is a book that you think everyone should read at least one time in their life?
Mm, oh, I know. The Rainer Maria Rilke, Letters to a Young Poet. I think
What's that about?
so. Basically, it's imagine one of us, right? We're fans, and his this guy. I think his name was Caput. That might be
Okay.
wrong, but let's call him Caput for the case of the video. He was a fan of Rilke's poetry, and he just so happened to go to the same college, I think, as Rilke. This is all explained in the foreword because the foreword is written by him. And he says that one of his professors was like, "Oh my gosh, you're reading like that's a Rainer Maria Rilke book or poetry collection or whatever?" And Caput is like, "Yeah, do you like why that reaction?" And then the professor is like, "Oh, because he used to go here. Like I still have contact with him, and he always wanted to like write stuff, and that's so great. I'm so happy he made his dreams come true." And so because of that, Caput goes, "Oh my god, that's crazy. I'm gonna can I like write him a letter, like asking about life advice, because I think Caput also wanted to write something like that." And someone please fact check me, but it's all in the forward. It's all in the forward. And so he writes Rainer Maria Rilke a letter, and they had a couple of exchanges, and Rilke sent him 10 letters in total,
Okay.
and Caput combined them all into the collection titled Letters to a Young Poet. And it's really interesting. It's some of it, do I agree with everything that Rilke says? No. But I don't think you have to. I don't think you have to. There are just the way he sees the world is very beautiful. And I think I think no one can read that and walk away from it thinking I'm the same person. And even if you do, that's fine. But sometimes, oh, actually, I was going to get into this and it's going to make me sound smart. Is that okay? This little
Yes, of
tangent.
course.
Okay. So I was watching, this will come back, right? So I was watching this Cormac McCarthy excerpt of an interview that he did with Oprah. And he started talking about how the subconscious is older than language. And what he was getting at is he wrote this essay called The Kekule Problem. The Kekule Problem, I think that's the essay called. And he talks about how Kekule, who was this physicist from Germany, I believe, he discovered the structure of benzene. So, for those
Okay.
who don't know chemistry, let me explain a bit. So, the problem with benzene is that it has this ring structure, and of the carbons, and no one really knew why it acted the way it did and stuff like that. Like it wasn't explained. And in chemistry, you can have sigma bonds and pi bonds. And pi bonds, so sigma bonds are like when you have a single bond between stuff, that's a sigma bond. And whenever you have a double bond or a triple bond, then those two are pi bonds. And a pi bond means that the electron is displaced, and so it kind of is shared by the atoms. Okay. And so now that you know that,
Yes.
the thing with benzene, it essentially, because it has the pi electrons, but they didn't know that then, it has pi electrons that are shared um, between the different carbons. Okay. And Kekule, he was trying to figure out like the shape of the benzene, and he was like, I can't figure it out. And so he goes to sleep. And then in his sleep, he dreams of the Ouroboros, which is the snake eating its own tail. And he
Sure.
wakes up and he's like, oh my God, it's a ring. And then he, does chemistry, whatever. And his dream of the Ouroboros and that benzene is a ring turned out to be true. And that's great. And so what Cormac McCarthy basically says is that Kekule's subconscious essentially like spoke to him, and
Sure.
that they're like subconscious is older than language. So
Mhm.
sometimes it's not like, I think to myself, I am now speaking to Brian from BookTube. We are on a live stream. I just kind of know that, and in a similar way, he essentially says that language is a very recent development, and sometimes it's hard to articulate thoughts and ideas or whatever in the sense of forming words, just because that's new, right?
Sure.
And at least relatively. And so he takes that and he says that that's what happened to Kekule. It was his like subconsciousness speaking, or it was a subconscious thought that then he wrote out, and now we know what the structure of benzene is. So taking that back to what we were talking about, the subconsciousness, what were we talking about, Brian?
The
Because
book.
I forgot.
The book that
Sorry?
everybody needs to read in their lifetime.
Oh, yes. The Letters to a Young Poet. I think Rainer Maria Rilke does a similar thing where he is really good at articulating things that we know to be truths,
Sure.
or at least, like subconsciously we know them to be true, or they're just these subconscious feelings that it's hard to articulate, and he articulates them. And again, I don't agree with everything he says, but the way he conveys his ideas, it really
Mhm.
speaks to the subconscious, I think. And even if you don't learn anything new from him, that's fine, because you'll still walk away being able to articulate an idea or a thought that you've always felt, but that you haven't been able to express. And I
Well,
think there's
yeah.
power in that.
I am putting that immediately on TBR Mountain
And it's so
because
short. It's like 50 pages
oh my
because
gosh.
it's just letters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just read it in an afternoon.
Yeah. Or like a letter a day. That's fine,
And I think that it seems like the kind of book too that as time goes on in your life and you have different experiences, it's something you can go back to and probably pull different
Yeah.
things from because yeah, it's all in your subconscious, but now you've got more immediate memory stuff that maybe it also draws into. So I think that's awesome. Folks,
Yeah.
we've been going for an hour and a half and this seems like like 10 minutes. Um, but you guys have been rocking it in the chat like just crazy, and Vera has been completely rocking it as a guest here. I mean, literally everything that a host could possibly want when scheduling somebody to come on. I'm not going to keep you a ton longer, Vera, but we do something at the end of every episode, of course, on BellTube that
Yes,
we
sir.
do. And it's called One for the Road, folks. And this is something that I've done since the very, very first video I've ever done. It's been the only thing that has been across every video that I've ever done. I hope people like it. And one of the things that I love about this live stream is that doing a one for the road is not really in the wheelhouse of too many other channels. It's off topic for the most part. People are talking about books or they're talking about just whatever the topic of the day is, and then they lean into a one for the road, and it's a little bit off. But I know that if you create a BookTube channel and you are a reader, you have valid one for the roads, and that's why we do them with the guest here, because their own channels may not really fit to do something like that. They can come over here and offer us one. So, Vera, do you have a one for the road for us today that you'd be willing to share?
I do. And I want to share this one because, well, if you've watched my channel, I do say this sometimes.
Sure.
Um, but the reason I started my channel is Joe Abercrombie. And what really pushed me was his character, Logan Nine Fingers. At the very start of The Blade itself, he recounts how his father always told him that once you've got a task that needs doing, it's better to do it than to live with the fear of it. And that idea of doing something instead of just being like, screw it, I'm going to do this. I'm living with the fear of accomplishing this dream because what if people judge me? What if it will be cringe? What if I'll be bad at it? What if this pushes me like just too far out of my comfort zone? What if,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes what pushed me to pressing record was recognizing that I've wanted to start a YouTube channel for so long. And I was living with the fear that I would be judged, that I'd be made fun of, that would be cringy. I was living the what if, could I grow this? Like, would anyone watch me? And I realized that, yeah, it is better to do it than to live with the fear of it. And so whatever it is that you are living with the fear of, whether it's a hike, whether it's trying a new sport, like you can try windsurfing, my favorite sport, whatever it is, just do it, because you're going to die one day. And like, sorry to get sad, but you are going to die one day. And when you're on your deathbed, what are you going to be thinking? Are you going to be thinking, oh, thank God I didn't do it, it could have been scary to do it? Or will you be thinking, well, it's too late now, And so
I love that. I think it's an excellent one for the road. I'm not here to judge anybody's one for the road, but I do like to think about them as I hear them and react. And to me, that combines sort of the practical with the more inner persona sensibility, right? So you've got these fears of, well, what if, but your advice is practical. Just do them, because I mean, the old adage of, if you're, in your old age in the rocking chair, you don't hear a whole lot of people really talking about how happy they were they didn't try new things. And I know that I saw some, I think the word is centenarian. I don't know. Someone in the chat, let me know later in the comments, but the people that live over 100, and they talked about, what do you think? And they say, the only regrets I have are the things that I really wanted to do, but I let fear kind of get in the way. And I really like what you're talking about, because most of the things, I think we estimate how cringe something might be or how fearful it really be. And then you get into doing it. And I think you're right. You find that you've maybe overblown it in your mind a little bit, that, hey, this wasn't as, crazy hard as I thought it might be. And even if it is, at least I feel like I've grown as a person, in the doing of it.
And can I just add one
Yeah,
thing?
of course.
My favorite, I think it's my favorite poem. It's by Wisława Szymborska, a Polish poet. Sorry if I'm rambling again, but she's a Polish poet that won, I believe, the Nobel Prize, and she died like 10 years ago. But she has this poem titled Nothing Twice, or Nic dwa razy in Polish. And now I think the translations are not great. However, the penultimate stanza, I think, is so powerful. And it's it roughly translates to, why did you evil hour, come and instigate my fear? But you're here, and therefore you shall pass. You shall pass, and therefore you are beautiful. And that also ties into the idea at the end of The Catcher in the Rye of Holden goes through some terrible things, but at the end of the day, the last sentence is him saying, never tell anyone about anyone, because then you'll start missing everybody, or something like that. So it's that idea of, nostalgia, and like, just because something is bad now doesn't mean it will always be bad. You are existing now, therefore it's going to be beautiful to you one day. And I think that's very powerful. So even if you're scared, and even if it turns out to be a bad idea, at least you did it. And maybe there's a beauty in that as well.
I 100% agree with you. I can't add much more to that, folks. That's been awesome. Wera, you are in the description of this video. So in the very, very unlikely event that any of you who are watching live or on replay are not already subscribed to Vera's channel. I think today's episode, if that didn't convince you to go subscribe and watch her videos, I don't know that I'm doing my job right, because her videos are so well thought out. She has a brilliant mind. She reads something and analyzes it that, to be honest with you, very few booktubers do such a incredible job with not a ton of training in book analysis, yet she's pretty incredible at it. She reads tough books. Those Cormac McCarthy books are easy feat. She just, her channel is inspiring. And I think with what we've got with her One for the Road, you're going to see that type of fearless energy on her channel. She's got over 11,000 subscribers right now, you guys. It's going to skyrocket to the moon based on not only her abilities as a booktuber, but her intention and how she creates. It's not going to be by accident. I'm happy to say that I knew you when, because I think you're just going to rock it out. And of course, I have to ask.
Making me blush.
I know it's my job to, if I think the guest is awesome. And the fact that we've gone on almost, a couple of hours just tells me that, that I would like you to come back for a part 2. Would you be willing to be a return guest on For Whom the Bell Tolls?
I mean, of course, we haven't gotten into the love of my life, windsurfing, or the
Look at this right here. Right here says windsurfing. Talk about windsurfing.
Or Taylor Swift, my queen. And
you guys, I mentioned this backstage, and I said, look at all these questions I have. I'll be surprised if we get to half of them. We got to a third of them. So I have 2 pages still of questions for the most amazing Wera when she comes back on for a repeat episode. So, it's not going to be boring. I just want to thank you so much for coming on today. This has been everything that I hoped it would be and more. I hope lots of people who are watching this, if you're not subscribed to her channel, please do it. I've got a link to my Patreon in the description if you want to check out what that's all about. It's tons of fun. It's less than a cup of coffee for a month, and you get some cool backstage photos and all kinds of stuff. Our top level, we do a one-on-one conversation with me once a month, and we've actually got people in the chats right now I do it with regularly. So it's a lot of fun. But once again, this is not about me. This is about Wera. Thank you for coming on today. I look forward to watching your channel explode. I look forward to watching more of your incredible content. And I look forward to having you coming back, because you rock and you definitely make the grade for a return guest.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's nice to be invited. I had to reach out the first time, and force myself in here, because, like Brian, for those watching, Brian is, the rest are great as well, but Brian is my favorite BookTube talk show host, if I can put it that way. And I watched so many of these, and I felt like every single time Brian got something unique out of his guest that I wouldn't have gotten from their channel. And I was like, Brian, can I come on? And so, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, folks, here's the deal. You got to go for what you want in life. And I was going to ask her anyways, but she sent me a message saying, hey, can I come on? I was like, yeah, I was going to ask you anyway. And absolutely. An excited guest is what we're looking for here. So again, thank you everybody who came in chat. You guys rock. Thank you for Team Replay. Leave a comment where you're watching, when you're watching, all that good stuff. If you've not subscribed to her channel, please do it. If you've not subscribed to my channel, I mean, come on, you guys, with amazing content like this. I mean, you just don't want to miss this kind of stuff. You guys, I will see you in the next episode. Next week, we are off of For Whom the Bell Tolls. I'm actually going to be on Nerd Level Rising next week. I'll, tell you a little bit more about that. It's actually going to be at the same time, noon Central on Wednesday. I've got some incredible guests coming up in November and December. I'm going to announce all of that in the next week. It's fantastic. Look who shows up at the end. John from Talking Story. Hey guys, I will catch up on the replay. Out doing adult stuff. Oh, come on. John, your channel's so big, you already have people for that. So come on, my man.
He was in the nursing home.
He was. I mean, they wait a minute. They let John out of the home. Some,
I know.
so,
I need to
some.
call them.
If you've read Cloud Atlas, Timothy Cavendish has been released. So yeah,
Mm.
absolutely, Jimmy, that one was for you. All right, you guys, I'm rambling now. Now this is truly a Tudor ramble type of an episode because we've got two people rambling at the end. All right, you guys, have a great day. Stay positive, and we will see you guys soon. Thank you. Have a great day.